Oh, thanks for joining us again today. Well, today it's Tuesday. It's August the 18th, and I appreciate you watching our videos. Hope your day's going well. And for some of you, you'll see this toward the evening time. So hopefully your Tuesday will go well. Well, we're outside. We're able to take advantage of being outside. No rain. The wind is pretty much not an issue at all. And the only thing earlier, there was some mosquitoes that were about to eat us up, me and my little dog Moxie. But right now is a good time, and so I think this will be a good time and place for our video for today. Well, we've started a series. This is actually going to be a 2-week series. We're going to do five devotions from the Old Testament regarding the word stand or standing, and then we're going to do 5 from the New Testament. And I'm trying to get examples of where there's a variation of what the word would mean. So we're really not going to be able to do a lot of review, of course, because it just would take too much time. So today we're going to be in the book of Joshua, Joshua chapter 1 and Joshua chapter 10. And basically it's the same concept as far as the word stand would go. So many of you know this. If you've been in church any length of time, Joshua is the leader who succeeded Moses. Moses has died at this point. Joshua becomes that leader. He was a great follower to Moses, and so he was not only God's fit and God's choice, of course, to be the leader for the people, but in the practical sense, absolutely, he was just a great follower, and he was going to become a great leader. So, in the instructions that God is giving to Joshua, here's what was said in Joshua 1:5. It says, "There shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee nor forsake thee." That was said, of course, basically in Joshua's inception as the leader. Then we know the great battle of Jericho is going to follow that instruction, of course. And then we know that there's going to be the battle of Ai, which was kind of an embarrassment to the people of God because there was sin in the camp, and they had to get that right. And then, of course, they were able to defeat those in Ai. And then the next battle, very dramatic, very dramatic battle, and the different details that goes with it, is that there's a battle that was going to be basically to defend the people of Gibeon, the Gibeonites, and this is where we find where when they engage these 5 kings of the Amorites, that Joshua's going to ask the sun to stand still, and so that the battle can be completed and all of that. But here's what was said in verse number 8. Before that battle was to start, here's what was said. "And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have delivered them into thine hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee." So we're going to talk about the use of the word stand here in regards to the enemies of God's people. In this case, the enemy that would be Joshua and those people that were the Hebrews there. Basically, that word, I don't think you probably need a definition, but it basically means to not be able to stand permanently, or to be able to have a place for a long period of time, or permanent, of course. Basically meaning that these people, you're going to go up against them, but they're going to be defeated, and they're not going to be there as a foe for you very much longer. And of course, again, with the sun standing still, and then of course going back to the Battle of Jericho, where the great wall fell down and how that was dramatic. So I'm telling you this. Number one is this: God gave instructions in both cases to Joshua to say, look, number one, you're going to win this battle. Number two, I'm going to be with you. Don't be afraid, because I'm with you. You're mine, and you're my people, and you're the leader of my people, and you're going to lead these people against, in many cases, odds that are way against you. The city of Jericho, wow. I mean, no one could penetrate those walls, but when God said march around them, and then on that 7th day you're going to march around them, and the walls are going to come down, God did that, and they were able to defeat their enemy. And then, of course, with these 5 kings that made a confederacy with each other and said, look, we're going to destroy Gibeon. It was a great city, the Bible says, and it was greater than Ai. They had mighty men there, so we need all of us to band together, and we're going to defeat these new people that have come into our area. But, of course, we know God gave the victory. So what does that mean for you and I today? Here's what it means. It means that as a child of God, there's nothing that can stand before you or I that is going to stand there, that's going to overtake you, where God says, you know what, I don't have any power against them, or if they come against you, then you're on your own. There's never a case with the child of God. Now, bear in mind, in Joshua's day, the Old Testament, excuse me, was basically physical battles. Of course, we know that Joshua literally went up against armies of people with swords and spears and all of that, and their battles were physical in nature. Our battles today are basically spiritual in nature. In other words, things we can't see. And we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and so on. So it's things that we don't see that try to come up against us. There's things like the spirits of discouragement and all of that, spirits of doubt and so on. You get that. So I'm telling you that because as a child of God today, with all that's going on in this world and all the fear that's being manufactured basically unnecessarily, for many reasons, and all the things that's trying to make it look like America is about to be brought down in terms of being a country that it's not supposed to be. And there's a lot of people who do a lot of talking, and there's a lot of people who do a lot of spreading things that are false and things that are just evil. But you know what? There's nothing that can stand before the child of God, that God says, number one, they're there. And if my mission is for you to defeat them, then that's exactly what's going to happen. In the general sense, when Joshua was called to be the leader, of course, he says, look, your primary job is going to be to get the promised land for the children of God. You're going to have battles, and you're going to fight a lot of battles to overtake these foes, that basically their land is going to be yours. It's going to be the people of God's, and that's the mission. And I'm going to lead you to do it. And whenever that was not done, it was because there was no cooperation with certain groups of the children of Israel, but not because the enemy says, well, you're just not going to do that. If God says there's no enemy that can stand before you, then that's exactly going to be the case. So the practical side of this is today. We live in a day and age where we're fighting the spiritual battles, and we've got to understand that there's nothing that's going to overtake the child of God. To be honest with you, there's nothing that's going to overtake the country that we call the United States of America unless God so ordains that. And if it's God's plan, then it's God's plan. And God has his reasons. We can look in the Bible and see how the children of Israel, they thought, they were, that was not going to happen to them. But, in Jeremiah's day, sadly, Jeremiah saw that. He didn't want it to happen, but he said, look, we've got to stand with God, and God stands with us. And when we don't do that, then God can ordain enemies to bring us down even. So what I can tell you as a child of God, live for the Lord, be strong in the Lord. Nothing can stand before you and I, seen or unseen, that God says that if it's an enemy that you're supposed to defeat, then you're going to stand against it, and I'm going to stand with you, and the battle's going to be the Lord's, and you don't have to be afraid. So today, you don't have to be afraid of any enemy out there that's trying to oppose you. In many cases, it's God saying this is a chance for you to understand the power of God and how I work with you to defeat a foe, whatever that might be. And of course, it's just showing you that you belong to God too. So Joshua was told, look, none of these enemies are going to be able to stand before you. And child of God, that's the case with us. If God allows something to come into you, into your life and my life, let me tell you something, then God brings that, but God's in control of that situation. And God oftentimes brings things into our life so we can defeat it with emphasis on with God's help. And sometimes it may be only God's help, but God says, but they won't stand before you, because that's the mission of God. That's what's been ordained for your life. So I hope that's encouraging to you. I hope you have a great Tuesday. Until tomorrow, we'll look at another instance of the word stand or standing, and how it can be an encouragement to us. So just stand today, folks, and stand with God. He's standing with us, and that's very encouraging during these days that we live. So have a great day.